When you talk about empowering developers and the future of AI-assisted coding, this next guest is at the absolute forefront of the industry. He is helping redefine how developers build, collaborate, and ship software. So please welcome to the desk the president and head of AI at Replit, Michele Catasta. Michele, it's so great to have you.
Thanks for inviting me. Hi, Stephanie.
Yeah, how has Next been for you?
It's been crazy. It's my first time here in Vegas doing the large version of Next. The last time I saw it at the Moscone. Amazing scale, a lot of energy. I love it.
Yeah, Moscone was a very different scale. I started back in 2017 and it was probably maybe like 1/3 of the size it is today.
I figured, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So a lot of stuff happening. I'm just so excited to talk about Replit because you've grown so much incredibly in the last several years. So just kind of talking about developer velocity. At Google Cloud, we're obsessed with this concept of developer velocity. Replit is fundamentally redefining what a developer is, who a developer is. So as your agents become more autonomous and leverage models like Gemini, for example, to handle some of the complex logic here, how do you see the day-to-day role of a developer changing? And what does the future look like for software creators?
It's been incredible to see what happened in the last 6 months already. I would say the day-to-day for developers has already changed. I expect it to be completely disrupted even more in the next year or so. Fundamentally, we're all becoming managers of agents. So a lot of the code is being written by AI. I think even Sundar yesterday on stage was mentioning that. What's going to happen though is that we are going to boost the productivity of both developers and knowledge workers just by means of allowing them to manage a lot of agents in parallel, and they will just express in natural language what they want, and there will be like a swarm of agents getting the job done for them. That's how the future is going to look like.
Do you feel like the tools that developers use is going to change fundamentally? Like, how do you feel like the experience of software development or IDEs will eventually change?
Well, our bet at Replit since we launched the first version of the agent was to take a complete departure from IDEs. Not because they're not still useful today for developers. I do think they still play a role in the niche, but for the vast majority of software creators, people that don't come from a strong software engineering background, IDEs are not only not needed anymore, but I will argue that it's not the right product surface for them. You want to interact with an agent, you want to get feedback from it, you don't want to stare at the code. And that's why we call this space vibe coding. You just vibe with the AI product, you don't look at the code itself.
Yeah, and I also feel that the term developer has always been a bit vague, right? It's very all-encompassing, but there's so many different colors and versions of builders today, and that color schema is coming out to fruition now more than ever.
Agree.
Like, I consider myself really like a certain type of builder who appreciates that kind of surface as well. And you have also, you started as more of a core engineer and have really transitioned, and you've seen this space change. So how do you use your own tools specifically at Replit?
We Dogfood our product a lot, partially because I moved my first steps in the industry at Google, so already back in the days the Dogfooding concept was very important, and I remind my company every single day we have to be the top user of Replit. And it turns out that maybe a year and a half ago, when we launched the first version of Replit Agent, it wasn't as powerful as needed to create useful internal tools. Right now is absolutely the case. I would say maybe more than 50% of the time I spend in front of my screen at the office is on tools that we built on Replit. Like I split my time between Gmail, internal communications on Slack, and everything else is built on Replit. All the enterprise customers that use us, fundamentally they find Replit disruptive exactly for the same reason. They don't go out anymore and buy a random SaaS solution from vendors. They build the tools that they need with Replit.
Yeah, nice. And no better way to dog food your own software, right? Okay, so just talking about the model layer, I know that we're constantly pushing the boundaries with Gemini, especially with things like the massive context window, the advanced reasoning. So since your team at Replit is building at the absolute bleeding edge of this area, what excites you the most about the future of models like Gemini? And what is that holy grail capability that you want from us to be able to really unlock the next massive leap for Replit's agents?
There have been two capabilities on which Gemini has been exceptional since the very beginning. And I would say they are multimodality, the fact that no matter what is the type of input you're passing to the model, images, videos, and the fact that it has a very large context means that it can understand whatever you throw at the model. And that's very important for a product like Replit Agent because our users are passing the raw ingredients to the agent, and then they expect it to be very smart and read their mind almost and understand that on a certain frame of the video they should take a picture of the person and then place it on their website. So Gemini has been like incredible Swiss Army knife for us to use in product, as well as the design capabilities. We power our agentic canvas on Replit, where you can basically wipe code design directly from the Gemini models. So I would love to see these two capabilities becoming even better over time. And you give me glimpses of where things are going, so we're very excited to keep using it in the future. I would say the holy grail is to really Gemini becoming a model that is also extremely powerful in any agentic workflow. Of course, it's very hard, and by definition, every research lab is putting their chips on different capabilities. But I know that you folks have everything it takes to really be extremely competitive also in that space.
Yeah, we had some really great conversations yesterday just around the model capabilities becoming so advanced now that it's really unlocking the agentic era. Being able to do things like the design capabilities, but understanding contextual knowledge across the entire code base. And I think with the launch of Gemini 3, it's become even more apparent that it can really boost that.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, well, talking about just product roadmap and building the future a little bit more, I know that you just had the launch of the Replit agent, and that really shifted the paradigm of how people build software from scratch. So without giving away all of your secrets here, what does the product roadmap look like over the next 12 to 18 months over at Replit? And how does having this deeply integrated cloud and AI partnership help you with that?
I wish I could tell you my 18 months product roadmap, not even because I don't want to disclose it, but rather because the advances in frontier models that you guys are spearheading are putting us in a place where a product roadmap maybe 3 months away from now is already quite ambitious. That being said, there is one thing that we know for sure, and that we're already putting a lot of engineering effort internally, which is the fact that our Agent 4 that we launched back in March is already very capable, not only as an app builder, but in general as a general agent that creates a lot of different types of software artifacts. Now, the next step that is very natural, especially given our partnership with Google Cloud, is giving access to our agent to pretty much any product that Google Cloud offers. And that will basically turn any user of Replit into a very advanced software engineer. Today, we already provide auth as a native layer. We provide, database access directly in GCP. So all the main building blocks that you would expect, they are there, and they're already enterprise quality. I want to expand the aperture of what Replit Agent can do, and really allow you to use any single product on Google Cloud without our users even knowing that that's happening. So we would see an explosion in terms of complexity of what a Replit user can build in our product without them knowing that it's happening, which is the best case scenario.
Yeah, exactly. I think just the fact that you don't have to be an expert in everything from database management to setting up your first function or serverless technology or all of the infrastructure. Maybe you're not even familiar with the Kubernetes cluster, but you know the value.
Yeah, you shouldn't
of it.
be. Exactly.
So I think it's really exciting just really like the intersection between the two of having AI agents kind of complete those tasks and have access to all of the fundamental documentation and instructions, and even you mentioned auth too, and just taking care of that.
Yeah, auth is so important because it's the foundational element for security. So we want to make sure that everything that is high stakes is handled by us, in a very opinionated way, but we steer you towards the best practices of the industry. We steer you towards what Google Cloud offers, and in exchange you get the same level of enterprise security that a very expert software engineer has.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that is embedded into Google Cloud as well. So the two together. Okay, so in this whole AI space today, the half-life of new technology is really, really shortening, right? We know that Replit is known for really shipping at scale and speed. Y'all are very agile. So take us behind the scenes of how you're able to do this. What is your engineering culture like? And how do you balance that with reliability that we all need? And how does building on Google Cloud infrastructure give your team that agility to deploy?
I would say, first of all, is not thinking anymore of deadlines and projects in matters of quarters or sometimes even doing yearly plans. We know that they don't work any longer. So I love to have a lot of projects internally happening with timelines that span a few weeks. And we keep asking ourselves, how can we do this faster? And that also forces us, to use more tools to make different architectural decisions that allow us to just be more productive overall. It goes without saying that embracing coding agents across the entire company, of course, has made a huge difference, especially in the last 6 months. That being said, I think there's almost like a natural tension when it comes to a company that has both platform aspect, because Replit goes all the way from orchestrating hardware to creating our own agent harness to owning the product surface. So everything works in I would say, totally different way. So like the AI team, for instance, I like to call it sort of the innovation engine of the company. Very scrappy, it works with a very fast iteration speed, and we create a lot of prototypes of what we believe could be good product features. Not all of them see the light of the day. And then there are teams that work on a different timeline, especially when they're closer to Google Cloud or closer to the hardware. Those projects take longer. Migrations, of course, have to be done much more carefully because they entail user data and the user accounts and so forth. So there is this tension where some teams are running faster, some others use like more engineering practices that really focus on reliability. And we kind of average the pace and we make sure that everyone meets a certain point, and then we ship the new version of the product. I think I see a lot of other startups also in our space moving, in a similar way. And as you know, tension is very productive in life. It creates disagreement, but it also allows you to find the best solution.
Yeah, it's true. It's right at the intersection that you really find the most innovative solutions. And I do agree. I think there is a certain tension in typical like enterprise or company environments where it's really focused on persistence. Mm-hmm. So persistence meaning it's rigid, it's designed for reliability, and you, as you mentioned, you need that. But there's also this pressure to become more about plasticity, meaning you need flexibility, you need to fail fast. So instead of embracing a culture of failure just being about a postmortem and debugging, you also need to embrace failure as more of a filter to understand the ideas that actually you should spend more time on and move
Absolutely.
that earlier in the process of ideation.
Yeah, there are failures that are unacceptable. You can fail when it comes to user data, you can fail when it comes to security, regardless of being an enterprise customer or any of even our free users. We care about security across the board and we put a lot of effort on that. Some of those engineering efforts are very careful and thoughtful. But when it comes to innovation, that's the fun part. And agents, really did a 10x on the speed of innovation as well, of what we can prototype internally. So, there we embrace the messiness and we just go as fast as it gets.
And as I understand, because I know you want to talk about this in our next questions, but you were a part of Google X and Labs, right?
Correct.
So it's kind of in your blood from the beginning to work both in a complex environment of Google, but also embrace failure and prototyping, even before the age of the current AI. So,
yeah, I'm very excited about it. I would say it's the right combination of trying to build the future, literally, and at the same time understanding that the moment you have a glimpse of what could be useful for a large user base, you want to build it the right way. You can't just put a hack out there and not to get mass adoption, because then you face consequences. Security being maybe one of the most important one that you need to be very careful about.
Yeah, exactly. It's exciting to see that culture is kind of being adopted across the board more and more. So we'll see where it goes, and Replit's going to be a huge part of helping companies do that. So talking about scaling now, because I know that at Replit you really have helped scale startups, even individuals starting their own companies. So founders are using Replit to go from a natural language prompt to actually deploying a revenue generating startup now. And so eventually those viral apps need to scale, right? So how are you thinking about the infrastructure side of that equation? And how does partnering with Google Cloud ensure that a creator can seamlessly scale from like a weekend project into a fully scalable revenue generating project?
I think it's time I share the most well-kept secret about Replit, which is, in reality, every single thing you build on our platform is ready to scale from day zero. Immediately when you publish your application, our default option is Cloud Run. And as you know, Cloud Run is ready to scale to millions of users without our users even noticing. So, fun fact, we have to put a lot of payment limits and a lot of notifications in our product because some of our early users created viral applications. They started to get lots of visits every day, and then they receive an invoice that they didn't expect, because of course we need to charge per amount of traffic that they receive. And on the flip side, I realized this is so seamless that they didn't even realize that it was happening. So we put a lot of emphasis in creating everything to be scalable from day one, because scalability cannot be an afterthought. It's really hard to bolt on a scalable solution after you build a prototype that is not scalable at all. So we made the decision to immediately build following the engineering best practices, using a lot of different Google Cloud products that would allow just whatever the user builds to scale very easily. And of course, it came with more engineering complexity, more hard work on our side, but it's paying off dividends. And that's the reason why, when an enterprise adopts Replit, they move from creating prototypes that really help them to define their product roadmap to launching those products, those features in product. And they're still deployed today on Replit in a totally seamless way. Even the users of the product from the outside, they don't understand that part of the product surface is actually powered by us. And that's the best case scenario. That's exactly how it should be. But we made this happen because of the partnership with Google Cloud and the amazing products that they have on that platform.
Yeah, and I think there has been this ongoing concern as we see more vibe-coded applications with the concept of technical debt. Because even before AI, it's like making decisions that kind of lean more towards velocity. But it sounds like there is this balance that you're striking with reducing technical debt because you're taking on a lot of the bulk of the work to make sure that reliability and scalability is already built into the infrastructure side of it. So people can still vibe code.
Yeah, they can vibe code and they can go really far, way more than you would expect. Sometimes I'm surprised when I see what our most advanced customers are building on top of Replit. The truth is, since the previous agent launch that we did in September, Agent 3, we started to add literally sub-agents that are focused exclusively on code review and re-architecting the software. So as the agent builds, rather than piling up the technical debt, we spend part of the compute to restructure your code base in order for it to be maintainable long term. So at times, maybe the people perceive our product to be slightly slower or a bit more expensive, but in reality, that choice pays off dividends later on when you can really take your product and put it in production in front of everyone. That's how we should think about vibe coding, not taking shortcuts immediately, because vibe coding is way more than prototyping, and that's what I love for everyone to understand. You can go really far with it, way more than you would expect.
Yeah, and it's a worthwhile investment now, right? It always has been, but the actual time that you personally invest is so much shorter than before.
Yeah,
so.
the ROI is unbelievable.
Yeah, like unseen. Okay, so finally, we know that Replit's mission is to bring the next billion software creators online, and this really aligns perfectly with our goal here at Google Cloud to democratize AI and computing. So when you're looking at this partnership between our two companies, what excites you the most about our combined impact over on the global startup ecosystem over the next decade?
I'll tell you a personal story. The first time I stepped at Google, it was, I believe, 16 years ago. I was a fresh intern, and during my orientation week, I think one of the first talks was about the fact that Google already had a few products in front of 1 billion users. That was absolutely mind-blowing for someone of my age. I really care about scalability, I really care about software engineering and AI back in those days. And I told myself, I really want to create something like that in the future, to have a product that's going to be in the hands of 1 billion people. And that's why I love Replit's mission. And I think we share in our company DNA the fact that when you build something remarkable, it shouldn't be just for a niche. So our mission is to empower the next billion software creators, and it takes not just the company to make that happen. I think that the partnership, with you and the entire ecosystem, the fact that it's evolving so fast, it makes me feel that we're going to get there maybe even sooner than I was dreaming of. And this technology has to be democratized, and it's going to create an amazing amount of opportunities across the world. And it does already today. Like I hear a lot of stories of people creating another source of income with Replit or getting promoted because of what they built on our product. Nothing beats that, and it's insane personal fulfillment when I hear about it.
Yeah, and there's a ton of economic empowerment happening with these
100%,
tools.
yeah.
It's super exciting. I mean, you're already well on your way to your mission and your goal, and you have to have that goal and mission and put the stake in the ground for it to happen. So huge congratulations on everything at Replit. We're so excited about everything and the partnership between Replit and Google Cloud, and thanks for joining our Day 2 live stream.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone. And stick around, we will be back soon, so don't go anywhere.